And that's why I think it's a good time to learn some grammar. What? Now did I stammer? Work on that grammar. You should know when it's less or it's fewer. Like people who were never raised in a sewer. I hate these word crimes. Like I could care less. That means you do care. At least a little. Be a moron. Hey, you better slow down.
Hello, we're back, and this time to talk about subordination. When we say subordination, like the word subordinate, when you say he is my subordinate, that means that person has a lower position than you do. So similarly, when you say subordination, the other sentence or the other clause has not really lower but a lesser, okay, has lesser in importance than the main clause. That's why we call it subordinate clause. Sometimes we call it dependent clause, because it shows that the idea depends on the main clause for the completion of the thought. So subordination therefore establishes a more complex relationship between ideas, showing that one idea depends on another in some way. So we can talk about a chronological development like time. You can say before, after, as long as, while, when, or a cause and effect relationship. So since, because, that's why, or a conditional relationship. You can use if, unless, etc. So subordinating conjunctions are really important because they are used to join clauses to make complex sentences. So if in coordination you form compound sentences because you combine two or more independent clauses, with the use of subordinating conjunctions, you come up with complex sentences, like a combination of an independent or a main clause and a dependent or a subordinate clause. So some of the more common subordinating conjunctions are after, although, as if, because, before, even if, even though, if only, rather than, since, that, though, unless, until, when, where, whereas, wherever, whether, which, and while. So, I present here a table of the common conjunctions and the respective meanings. So what can you use if we're talking about time? So you have after, as soon as, before, okay? Although is used to indicate concession and contrast. What else? As long as, time, but with a condition, conditional time. Cause, you can use because of. What else? By the time, even though is for concession as well. In case, that indicates condition. In order to, and so that can be used to indicate purpose. Even if, okay, if you want to present supposition, and if you want to express contrary choice or wish, you may use rather than. Okay, and then apart from although, you can also use though or even though for concession. Unless for condition, until, when, whenever for time, and whereas for concession. At the same time, you can use it for contrast. Wherever talks about place. Okay. So let's have few examples. Number one, the team talked about its game plan. The crowd cheered. So decide, okay, try to figure out the relationship between the two clauses. Again, it will depend on the relationship. So, is it cause and effects? Not really. Are they contrasting ideas? No. Is it additional information? No. The team talked about its game plan. And while it's happening, the crowd cheered. So, it talks about time. So, we can use as. Okay. The team talked about its game plan as the crowd cheered. This one, it was very hot, first sentence. They went running. So at first you will think that maybe they're opposite ideas. if they're opposite ideas, you may use contrast. You may use you can say they went running, or it was very hot but they went running. Remember, if you use what, then you are coordinating the two sentences. So that's a coordinating conjunction. Here, you want to emphasize a main point, and the main clause here is they went running. So if that's the main clause, the other clause will become now a subordinate clause. So what can we use now? So you can say, although it was very hot, they went running. Number 3, blank, we could not go away on vacation. We decided to take a couple of literature classes this summer. So why were you able to take literature classes on a summer? Maybe because you could not go away on vacation. So if it's a cause and effect, choose the appropriate conjunction. Okay, number 4. Blank, her brother went to law school in San Beda. Monica went to law school in UP. So, similar. 2 actions, went to law school, similar, happening at the same time. Therefore, you may use while. Okay, so these are the answers. So you use as, although, since, and while. And remember, the independent clause is the main clause, and the subordinate clause indicates the relation of the sentence that is dependent, okay, on the main clause. So let's have more examples. Money is undoubtedly important. It has never made anyone happy. So, relationship, it's already given here, concession. Again, when you say concession, one clause, you admit that the first clause or the other clause does not logically fit with the other clause or with the other idea. So here, decide what is the main idea. What is the main clause? Is it the fact that money is undoubtedly important, or the fact that it has never made anyone happy? Okay? If you concede because the premise is money is undoubtedly important. So, if it's concession, you may use although, though, even though. Which one is better? So, we can place, the question now is where to position although. Although money is undoubtedly important, it has never made anyone happy. Or will you place it at the middle portion? Money is undoubtedly important, although it has never made anyone happy. The question is, are both sentences correct? Or do we prefer one sentence construction? So in this case, okay, placing the subordinate conjunction at the beginning is more correct because the sentence here with lesser important is the fact that money is undoubtedly important, because you want to highlight that despite this, money has never made anyone happy. So placing it at the beginning, okay, does the trick. You want to highlight that this, okay, is, we concede to this fact, okay? And the main idea is that it has never made anyone happy. Next one. We practice going through the jungle and swimming in the river. We could do both with our eyes shut. So if the relationship is already given, you can now choose if it's time. So you can use after, before, as, when, while. So you have to figure out. We practiced going through the jungle, swimming in the river. We could do both with our eyes shut. So if you use while, can you use while? While we practice going through the jungle and swimming in the river, we could do both with our eyes shut. If you use while, that means the two actions happen simultaneously or at the same time. In this case, it doesn't make sense, right? Can you use when? When we practice going through the jungle and swimming in the river, we could do both with our eyes shut. when we practiced, okay, the idea of practicing means something here. So maybe what the author or what you really want to say is we practiced, okay, all these until we could do both with our eyes shut. Okay, until. So that means the two actions, practicing going through the jungle and swimming, they continue to happen until such point when we could do both with our eyes shut. So until is the best answer here. See, you were able to present an altogether different meaning by using until. Because you may actually use after. Like after we practice going through the jungle and swimming in the river, we could do both with our eyes shut. So that means after the first action, the second action. But here, you want to indicate like mastery, continued performance of the action until such time that you gained mastery. So until is a better option. Okay? Do you get what I mean? Next. Modern musical notation separates measures by bar lines. It would be easier for the eye to follow the score. We're looking for a subordinating conjunction. So we cannot use so because it's one of the fanboys, remember? If it indicates purpose, maybe we can use so that. So you can say modern musical notation separates measures by bar lines so that it would be easier for the eye to follow the score. So main idea here, the first clause. And then reason or purpose so that it would be easier for the eye to follow the score. That makes it your subordinate or dependent clause. And last example, so you have two sentences. All motion is relative to the observer. There's no such thing as absolute motion. Relationship, result. So if it's cause and effect, you can use since, you can also use because. In order to, so that, etc. So here, which is the more important idea? I think we want to focus here on the result. Okay, the result here is there is no such thing as absolute motion, like result or conclusion. And then the premise, why? What is the reason? All motion is relative to the observer. So if that is the reason, and the second clause is the result, then you can say, since all motion is relative to the observer, there's no such thing as absolute motion. Okay, so that makes it very clear to the reader which one is the reason and which one is the result. Okay, I hope that's clear on subordination. You can review the table of subordinating conjunctions. I already posted it on our WordPress site. Wait for the next video on compression.